All right, so a pleasant afternoon. Of course, we're in Nigeria, where our base is to start off this very interesting masterclass. We've always been offering value in most of this our masterclass, and today will not be an exception. I'm almost always excited when I have people that are respected in the industry, that are good as a person, but professionally, they've been able to offer value to a lot of us. And today we have somebody, you know, when you have somebody who has done something with the Harvard University, then all you need to do is to settle down and take good notes, because the next 45 minutes to an hour, the masterclass will be power packed, will be resourceful, and then, of course, has the potential of propelling you, if you want to be an entrepreneur, to your next level. Today, we're going to be talking about the subject entrepreneurship. Yes, I know you're a doctor, I know you're an animal health professional, but of course, you pay bills. And if you pay bills, then you have to be concerned also about how those things adds up together to give you peace of mind. We have somebody in their house who has been in the industry, but more importantly, has been able to transform his own personal business to something, when we were in school, we were always hearing about Ganrovet, Ganrovet, Ganrovet. And then we also heard his name. He has occupied several leadership positions, including the ex-president, being the president of the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, and then, of course, is a fellow of the College of Veterinary Surgeons. But more importantly, he has a certificate in entrepreneurship from the almighty Harvard University. Today, I'm going to be bringing on board Dr. Gani Enahoro, the CEO of Gyrovet. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Femi, good afternoon.
Good
And
to
thank
have
you.
you in today's
It's my pleasure to
masterclass.
be here.
We
My
are
pleasure to be here.
anticipating that you're going to really offer us enough that we need to know to be able to navigate. Nigeria is tough. It's really tough. So somebody said when the going gets tough, only the tough gets going. So we have quite a handful of people that will be keen in. We already have people joining online that really wants to know, how do you make it happen with or without money? So sometimes it's difficult to even know you can do it without money. Some of us don't even believe we can we can do it without money. But you suggested that we can do it without money. We want to learn from you. We are open, we have our daughters open, and we want to follow you on this ride to be a better entrepreneur. Dr. Gani Enahoro, over to you, sir.
Hmm. Thank you very much, Femi. It's my pleasure to be here. The subject of entrepreneurship looks like to be the in thing today, even in schools, training graduates and undergraduates, because eventually in whatever we choose to do, either for paid employments, paid jobs, the eventual target is to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that's highly rewarding, high yielding, and dignifying as well. You want to be able to do things on your own and then see them translate, to successes and to progress for you. So the subject of entrepreneurship is very wide and it's also very exciting. I have personal experiences to share, and it's my pleasure to share them on this platform, the masterclass. A long journey today, because I have started my work journey in entrepreneurship now since 1985, 86. That's solidly 35 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm one of the very few Nigerians of my age who could raise up their fingers and confess that we have never written applications to any company,
Wow.
any organization,
Mm,
government to look for job.
mm, mm.
So I have been a deliberate entrepreneur
Wow.
from beginning.
Mm,
Because when I use that term, I use it guidedly with respect. Deliberate entrepreneur, because in our early days, there were choices for us to make. We had jobs thrown at us, and I was particularly lucky. I had two jobs that were thrown at me. I was to be a lecturer at the University of Tuskegee in Alabama, USA, and I turned it down. And that was like what me my the well I got the offer through a former dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Ibadan, where I schooled. He was a two-term dean, and as he was leaving, exiting that office, he got an offer to be the head of department. I think they call them managers in the Faculty of Tropical Department of Tropical Medicine, Tropical Vet Medicine at the University of Tuskegee, Alabama.
mm,
And then he had the unusual privilege of having to assemble his team, and I was one on his list because I
mm,
was the president of the Association of Veterinary Medical Students while he was dean. So he took a liking to me because he saw quite a few challenges I was able to overcome as a student leader,
mm,
which he admired a lot. At a point, the student account was richer than the faculty account for several months. And he wondered how I did it. And then that became a reason for him to look for me. And then admired my managerial ability according to him.
mm,
I also had a second offer from May and Baker. They had an animal health department or division, they called it at that time. The also that privilege came because as a student union leader, during the faculty week, student faculty week, vet medicine, UI,
mm,
we needed to raise money from everything related to veterinary medicine. So we wrote to the company, and my letter was immediately I took it to the secretary, to the managing director. He passed the letter on to the head of the animal health division, a senior colleague. I don't think I need to mention his name. And there was a ready-made answer that our request was not going to be accommodated because there was no budget for it. And he turned us off, two of us. I didn't like that. So I went back to the secretary and requested that I would need to see the boss here. I think the managing director, they called him, or general manager, a white man. I didn't know that the boss was looking through the CCTV and seeing the negotiation I was having with the secretary. So he pressed the bell and called me in. And after some 2-3 minutes discussion, he gave an approval of a 25,000 naira donation
mm,
to our cause in 1983, 84. That was big money.
mm,
That was a time when the stipend of youth corpers in Nigeria was 180 naira only. And then we had a 25,000 donation. That was big. So senior colleague who was the head of the division now told me whatever I had told his boss that made him to release such money, as soon as I finished my school, I had a job to work with him as a sales manager. And he followed it through. Actually, he came to look for me after my youth service, and already I told him I had a practice that was already going. So that's just to say that we had options, unlike today that people, accidental entrepreneurs, so to speak, some of us who decided to go into entrepreneurship, into businesses at that time, were deliberate in our decisions. So let me share my screen to do some just few 10 slides to be able to properly establish the the topic I have on this masterclass today is entrepreneurship with or without money. And I have said this just like the intro from you, Femi, that you can actually be an entrepreneur without money. Every professional can become an entrepreneur. Everyone, provided you are mindful of the fact that you had already paid your dues. All the money and the time and the pains we have gone through in our training are investments in us that can be equivalent to the money that we really need to go into businesses or to go into entrepreneurship. Because we have been equipped with so much and we can actually do a lot. If you look at most of those who are out there, like our parents in the past, who never really had the kind of opportunities of training that we had, and they were successful in various businesses and became entrepreneurs, then how come we that are educated as professionals will not be able to become entrepreneurs? So with or without money, that is real. I became a practice owner a year after my university graduation. And we were being paid just 200 naira allowance as youth corpers. From the little savings I made as a youth corper, and this is being very frank and factual, because we need to begin to share these truths. I had my signboard ready 6 months before my NYC ended. Like I said, I was deliberate. I wanted to go into practice management. And as soon as our NYC was rolling up, I had paid for a 3-bedroom flat, actually a 4-bedroom flat, that I had marked out with a reception, a treatment room, a pet shop. And I had to use one of the rooms temporarily for about 6 months as my accommodation without my clients knowing. So, anyone. So if as a fresh copper, I could run a practice and I invited the director of NYC, I don't know what other name they call them now, who are our supervisor during the youth service. They came to cut the tape up in and to unveil the signboard of my practice as Ganrovet at that time. So I didn't have money. So I have confidence that you can be an entrepreneur really without money. Because what you really need to be an entrepreneur are 4 basic things. One, you must have an idea of what you want to do. You must be able to translate these ideas by establishing a business to take that idea to reality. Then you must also be a risk manager, a risk taker. You see, that is the critical language there. Every entrepreneur must be a risk taker because that's what takes you to the glory of your success. There are quite a number of businessmen or business practices, businesswomen, who are afraid to take risks. And that is why not anyone can be an entrepreneur, but not everyone in business can be an entrepreneur. That's a subject for maybe later on if there are questions and answers. So you need to be able to take risks by investing in what looks like the unknown for you to be able to be an entrepreneur, because what you are doing is hoping to make profit. So those are the 4 ingredients. You need an idea, you need a platform. That platform is the business or practice or whatever you are doing or that you intend to do, all which you must take risks, then with the hope to make profit. Then you become an entrepreneur. Because you can actually invest in a project, in a business, in marketing, without being an entrepreneur if you are not ready to take risks. And that is why we have the value investors. We have so many people who just go to the stock market. They just buy the stock and leave it there 5 years, 10 years, whatever the marginal profit at the end of the year. It's okay for them. So we refer to them as value investors. They are not ready to take risks. They don't want to gamble. They don't want to have a trailer take goods from the north to the south, and then they become sleepless, afraid of accidents, afraid of tripping over, and they just look, just leave me alone. They just put the money in a fixed account, and then if it is 12% the bank is offering them, that is satisfactory for them. Those are value investors. They are not entrepreneurs. Many times they could even have more money than the entrepreneur himself, who has taken the risk of calculated investment. So whereas the value investor could just have a 10-point aggregate of profit, the risk-taking entrepreneur himself has already made 1,000 points, multiples of the profit of the value investor. Or he could even have miscalculations and then he crashes to 0 point, but he wakes up again, he continues moving. It is certainly not easy. So, but that is what entrepreneurship is all about. The ability to have your idea translated to reality, and then the risk-taking that you must do with the hope of maximizing your profit. But it's not easy, I can agree with you. Okay? So that welcomes you to the world of entrepreneurship. That is how it goes. And it can be you, it can be me, it can be anybody. But what is important is the outcome. If you are successful as an entrepreneur, you will not burn out. You won't be tired of a particular style of generating your funds. You know, we are quite a number of professionals. There's this burnout tendencies or syndrome that they just get weak after doing a particular thing repetitively. They get tired of it. The excitement is no longer there. But as an entrepreneur, you are always looking at getting educated and looking at sources that can renew your income. And then most professionals have this tendency towards suicide. Yes, last week, was it last week or on Tuesday, when Professor was making his presentation. He talked about the high suicide rate among veterinarians in many parts of the world because of frustrations from maybe low income earnings, attitude of clients, failures in practice. You can't be an entrepreneur and you get boxed into this, because there are many things that will be agitating your mind for which you could develop your ideas into profit making. And then one of the greatest way for you to measure that you're actually an entrepreneur is the number and the quantity of fixed structures that you have. Let me explain this. Most people, professionals, they just look out for a small place. They say, okay, let me try this out for the next 2 years. And then if I have a job, I will abandon this and I will go and take the job. So you can now see that such people are not deliberate in their intentions. What happens to them? Quite a number of them may be making money, but they won't even know how to use this money in risky investments that can bring them more fortunes. And then they keep on living in rented structures. And they could remain in those structures for 20 years, 30 years in some cases, 15 years. Meanwhile, they started thinking that they were just going to be there for a little while. So if you really want to be an entrepreneur, You must have an ambition to have permanent fixed structures, either as your properties for residential or for businesses. But you must begin to target that what I'm doing is for real. If there are side attractions, like consultancies that come around, it doesn't matter. But you would have known that you had stabilized the investment you have made in a fixed structure, which many people are not doing today, even though they're running businesses and they're making millions from it. You have to be a mentor and a role model to others because others are watching you. If you must be an entrepreneur, you must be ready to know that others must learn from you. You must work towards your retirement. I'm working towards retirement from practice now. I thought I would have retired in 2019, but the COVID-19 kept me hanging on. And that means I should be qualified. I should have made myself prepared and qualified enough to be able to do something else apart from this practice I'm doing now, for instance, or whichever businesses that had made you to be able to have something else you can do beyond that. An entrepreneur must be a loan taker, must be bold and brave, even when it looks like you don't need the loan. You know what it does for us? It makes you to keep on your toes. Because when you know that you are having OPM, that is other people's money around you, then you must know how to also recover your debts because you know you have to pay debts. So you must know how to bill your clients, how to raise money, and now how to pay back your loans. So you can't be an entrepreneur and then you run away from loans. You must be able to take loans and be able to service them and be able to recover your debts. And in all of this, the bottom line is that you must be able to manage resources and people, the inventory and people, the personnel. A lot of us are overstaffed, where you have about 2-3 people doing the work of one person in your practice, in your business, because you want people to look at it that you have a high quantity number of personnel. It doesn't bring money to your pocket. Those are leakages. What the entrepreneur would do, what they do normally, is to even train a staff to multitask. There was a time we had a cleaner in our practice here, and our driver had a reason to go into oil bunkering in his village. I don't want to discuss that, but that's what he told us at the end of the day. We had to train the cleaner who was employed originally as a cleaner to drive. And he became a driver. All we did was to up his salary with the mindset that the salary of the driver that left was not the exact addition to his own salary. But we raised his own salary such that he enjoyed working as a driver as well as a cleaner. Because when you look around your personnel, you will see I do moments by all staffers. I do moments that people will just sit down and be sleeping, doing nothing. So it's better for you to have a lean size personnel, make more income, keep more profit, and then engage everybody. And the same with your inventory. A lot of theft goes on in our businesses in the name of we are stocking. You stock and you don't have a stock control. And some of your workers will now pilfer some of those things. They become leakages, and then they will now narrow your income. They narrow your profit margin. Whereas you should be having a high income with low expenditure. You now see yourself making little profit because you're now having high expenditure and low income. That is the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have a very thin goalpost as an outlet for your expenditures and a wide margin, high income profit possibilities. Then you can be said to be in entrepreneurship. I thank you very much for listening to me. And I'm ready now for your interaction. Femi, over to you.
All right, so I want to thank you for this brief but very straight to the point idea you've thrown up around entrepreneurship. But before we move into the interaction, I want to thank every one of us that are on this masterclass live. So what you need to do for this video, if you found what Dr. Gani is saying valuable, click on the thumb up button, like the video, share it, and then if you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, I think this is a perfect time to get to do that. Dr. Gani, you shared with so much, so the calmness in your face and the worry in our heart about this subject, right, does not tally. Some of us are almost always afraid. Like, I also run my own small side businesses, and I usually see. So each time I tell my wife, you know, the stress of even trying to correct people you employ is there. The bills that are piling up is there. People leaving you after you've trained them just in case you have a clinic is there. Tax force coming to query you that you put signboard outside is there. And in Africa you don't exist as one individual, you exist with a family. God help you if you have extended family that are calling you for their own issues. To now see that you come on this master class and then you are calm. So first question is, how do you even get to be this calm when you are the middle of stress? So let's handle that first. Go ahead, sir.
Well, first of all, personal experiences. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Personal experiences. I have long lost the youthful exuberance that I should have had when I was much younger than this. Because like I said, I deliberately invested to be an entrepreneur. You can't lose such opportunities of the youthful exuberance. There was actually so much that my mates were doing that I refused to do. I couldn't afford to fail. So I had to cultivate myself in discipline. That's number one. Discipline is so key to success in business and into all other areas. Because the workers we employ are also looking at us. For instance, in my practice, my doctors are always surprised when I make a no diagnosis or a no lesion, no disease diagnosis for clients, because that's what exactly it was to be. And then others would think that every client that comes to a clinic should be seen as a meal to make money from. And they will come with their dogs, and I would have examined and I said, sorry, your dog is not sick. Can we wait and see? I don't think there's any sickness here based on the vitals I've taken. And I could run a laboratory and I said, look, I don't see anything wrong with your dog. That was part of the discipline I cultivated on my own. And a lot of clients have, because of that truism, offered me opportunities much more than the money I would have gained from them, beyond the relationship of a client, patient, and animal. What am I saying here? Our attitude is number one. First, most of the problems entrepreneurs have revolve around themselves. The tension is around themselves. I've just said it. When you overstaff yourself, overstaff your business, you have created laziness and indolence around your system. And these workers will pretend a lot when they see you. They keep busy when they see you. And you work out and they go back into indolence. So how much of evaluation are we ready to make? We must be able to evaluate our staff. It's not only in government businesses that evaluation, what they refer to as APA, annual performance assessment, should be done. Entrepreneurs you must learn to do APA in your system. and find out if what two people are doing can be done by one person. And you have a trim size, and then you discover that you worry less about the attitude of man, because the more they are, the more mischievous people can be, even in your setup. You see some of your staff who will cultivate a relationship with your customers and make it look like you are the bad guy around, because they don't have work to do. So it is all about us. The freedom of mind, the peace we should have, depends on us as the leader of the team. I'm enjoying it. I have long trimmed my size, and I have a small trim size of workers around me, and a lot of machines that can do much more, and I worry less. Maybe that answers your question.
Well, so I think it's the stability and then the maturity that I really admire. But of course, you've told us what the secret sauce is, right? Some of the things we worry about are largely unnecessary. I can see sometimes we keep staffs that we really don't need, but because we've grown emotionally attached to them, seeing them, hey, yeah, what is his family going to say? Hey, yeah, what are they going to say? Where is he going to go to now? If the business closed down, they will go somewhere, right? They will find somewhere to go. They will find somewhere. Is you the business owner that cannot carry your certificate to go and start looking for work? 90% of the people that are around you can go and find another work, and they might not even remember you. So the discipline to downsize just specifically to what you need, right? That's what I heard you say. To even do, you said something, APA, annual performance appraisal, right? Am I correct,
That's
sir?
correct. You are right. Yeah.
So sometimes we
Assessment.
really don't do that. We really don't do that, and we give ourselves so much pressure at the end of the month to pay these people salary when we are not really convinced that they are actually adding value. Thank you so very much for this point. I want to say that if you've not hit the like button, the thumb up button, please kindly go ahead so that we can know that you are actually finding value. I've seen some comments here and there. I'm going to come to the comment, but of course, one of the comments talks about loan. Do you pick loans, sir? Maybe we should be more direct. And how do you go about loans in businesses? Do you think it's advisable for a young professional to go pick up loans? I remember a loan offering the organization, Lapo. If you are in Nigeria, but if you're watching outside Nigeria, you might not understand Lapo. But I've seen somebody literally lose herself. She was taking a loan from these people. She didn't tell her husband. She couldn't pay back, and she couldn't sleep. The loan people came to her house, and the experience could be so funny. So what's your experience around loan, and then how should we attend to it?
First of all, loan taking is good, for the simple reason that, like I said on the slide, loan is other people's money. In banking, in business, we call it OPM, other people's money. It keeps you on your toes. Even as I talk to you, I have banks, a few banks that I do business with, begging me, pushing their agents around me, asking me to renew some loans which I had long repaid, to take new ones. Because what is important is, what are you taking the loan to do? If you're taking loan to pay salaries, then there is a problem with your business. You must take your loan for capital investments. You can't take your loan for recurrence expenditures. If you are taking your loan to maintain, to service your furnitures, your in-house things, expenditures, then that is a wrong loan to take. But if you are taking your loan to increase your stock, and be careful enough to have a stock control mechanism around the stock. Because like I said, there are two things. It's good looking to come to a shop, to come to a pet shop or a market, and see a huge stock in the place. Is the owner of the business making money from it? How much of loopholes and blockages have been put into practice? And that is what we call the stock control management that must be involved in your stocking. So if you have invested in taking a loan to invest in buying stock, then you must put a control around to make sure you're able to pay back and make profit deservedly. So loan taking is good, but you must be sure what you are using the loan to do. And secondly, it helps you because you know there is a string attached to it, interest. You also have to be sure of your appropriate pricing mechanism such that you can pay back and still have profit. So when you take loan, it gives you that small push to also know how to chase after those who are owing you. Because in every time we have the creditors and we have the debtors. So as we are being chased after to pay back our loans, you also must be finding a system that will make you to chase after your creditors to pay you back, so that you can have a net balance which will be a profit for you. So I will not discourage anyone from taking loans. In actual fact, if you are an entrepreneur and you have not taken loans before, or you are not even taking now, then you need to review your strategy towards you can do better than what you are doing presently. I think that addresses that.
So again, I think that's a great idea. Just a quick recap. Dr. Gani Enahoro said it's good to take loan. Other people's money, it's a valuable tool in business. But be mindful of what you're taking the loans for, right? You can't take loan to pay salary. And sir, I see quite a handful of people do that. They get to the end of the month, there's no money to spend. They know that there will be a mob of people complaining, murmuring, putting up attitude at the end of the month because salary has not been paid. The pressure of that makes them deep hands into areas that they shouldn't deep hand to solve an immediate problem. I think I can invariably call this masterclass a business clinic, right? We are diagnosing that you have a big problem. You can't take loan on recurrent expenditure. So if you cannot pay your recurrent expenses, Dr. Gani Enahoro, our consultant for this masterclass, says there's something wrong and you need to seek for help. Right, so I want to talk about a point you brought up initially, but I still want you to hit on it, because this whole thing, it's all about the discipline you mentioned. You mentioned in your previous sentence that you have to be disciplined as a business person, right? Because sometimes a customer pays 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, right? And your margin on 25 million or 30 million might just be 3 million or 300,000, right? But you have the control of the 30 million for the meantime. People lose discipline. In your own journey of entrepreneurship, how were you able to cultivate this focused and disciplined mindset to keep your eye on the ball and understand that this whole thing, somebody said, the way a man goes, so his business goes, right? Keep discipline. Can you really even cultivate discipline? Can you, sir? Maybe that's the best way to ask that question. Go ahead, sir.
The answer is yes. First, let me explain that you cannot win it all the times. You either choose to be populist or you choose to be shrewd. If you want to be populist, whoever comes to you for a request for fund, you dip your hand into what is in your pocket and you give, and then they will clap for you and walk away. They will come tomorrow again. That cannot be a good business practice. That is a business in discipline. there are some funds or some monies that are not meant to be spent or touched. As a benchmark, every businessman or business practice owner or veterinary practice owner must have made a benchmark of how much minimum of income in a day that will be considered satisfactory enough to say that that day has run out well. If you have made above that point, that cutoff point, that is good bonus for you. It is not meant to be frittered away, because there will be some days that you could make below the line. So if you are not disciplined in business, all monies are considered as profit for the day. No. There are reasons why you must say no to people who demand from you either donations, religious contributions, as good as they may be. They have to come from an allocation from your income that you have deliberately, I use that word a lot, designated. Not just all comers, what goes out to them. And that is how businesses go into ruins. And at the end of the day, there will be paper profit. Paper, when you have a lot of things going good in the paper, but when you look at your banks or your backups for them, nothing to show for it. And you start wondering if there was witchcraft that have taken your money away. So there are some monies that must not be spent. And those are the backbones for your businesses. A lot of us don't know the difference. We don't know how to bank money. All of us are tempted but every day from our families. But we must be able to know what are the bankable monies that must go back to the bank, such that you won't even be tempted yourself to touch them at all. So if you don't have the habit of banking funds now, first, you are not even going to be qualified for loan taking, because the banks will look at your turnovers in a period to know whether you are trustworthy or whether you are active in business to even give loans to you. So you must know that the monies that must go to the bank must not remain in your pocket for the temptation to spend it in an all right way, So discipline all comes to play here. And the earlier we start to get used to that, the better for us as businessmen.
I want to say professor, sir. Because you are the professor of this class, Professor Gani Enahoro. You just said one must know how to mark money. There are money that cannot be spent. That's very profound. That's really, really very profound. So, if you've not subscribed, click on the subscribe button. Our master classes have the best of brains to ensure that you get the most value for the time you spent. If you've not hit on the thumb up button, you're watching this and you found any valuable information, I think it's the right time to hit on the thumb up button and let's know that you appreciate what Dr. Gani is sharing for us. Another question I want to ask, maybe two more questions, and then we're done with this. So everybody can spend money, right? You see it's easier to spend. And people are, look in quote, successful with a lot of money in their account. What is difficult for people is to figure out what to do when there's no money. And that's the crux of this discussion today. Are there any other form of money other than physical cash that an entrepreneur can lash on to spend just in case things become tough?
First, let me say that integrity is more than money. Integrity brings money. A lot of those we consider as successful people, successful businessmen, are only relying on the integrity over time that they have cultivated. and they also know how to chase after money, how to run after money. A lot of us consider ourselves in business. We don't even know how to value money. To us, a naira is just a little thing, and it could be thrown away. We don't mind. But the successful businessman, he knows that that 1 naira less 1,000, or 1,000 naira less a naira, is not 1,000 naira again. I will let this out. There was a course I did in my MBA school, personnel management, where a researcher was trying to find out the attitude of men in business towards recovery of income or towards making income. Was a PhD student, and what he did was to have a seminar, and he invited 50 participants across the board, the multimillionaires, the middle-level earners, the low-level earners, and those he considered to be very poor people, to a seminar. And he sent a check of 15 naira. Actually, it was in dollars, $15 to all of them, 50 of them. I was now monitoring the bank when those checks were presented for clearance. In short, the outcome of his finding was that the so-called millionaires, multimillionaires, even though the check was just $15, were the quickest to present their checks for clearance in the banks. And those who are the class of poor people ignored those checks and said they cannot bother them. They didn't bother themselves. Some kept the check for 6 months before presentation. And when that analysis was presented to us in our class, everybody felt guilty and we kept quiet, because most of us are guilty of this. And you start wondering why those who are rich, those who are successful, keep on becoming successful. And we keep on having a large army of those who are unsuccessful and who are always complainants because of the attitude and reactions and responses to the stimuli of business around them. They don't even know how to chase after money, and you want to get rich. So I think all of these still revolve around our personal selves. Integrity brings money. A lot of the multimillionaires we see today are very truthful in business, and that's what keeps them going. I've just told you my experience. I've told quite a number of clients in my clinic when they come, patients, clients, that they have nothing to do with us. We don't have to charge them for coming here. And I have made much more from the trust they have in me at other times than what they would have given me if I had wanted to make them a meal. So integrity is more than money. So when you ask the question of what can we have again apart from money that can make us succeed in business, integrity is the word. Integrity.
And I think that's a phenomenal way of answering that. A senior colleague called me when I was about starting in Lagos, Nigeria, and he said, if you have what you've just mentioned, integrity, right? He said he will help. And what he did then was that he gave me product in advance and gave me a month to pay. So you might not have physical cash, but once people believe that you will, because the fear is that people run away with people's money, right? So once people have the confidence in you that you will not run, you will return their money, they can give you more and much more. So integrity is a key factor. And then another thing you mentioned from your story is that you should follow the money. So rich people have built a system of collecting back their money because they understand is the $15, the $10, the $1 that adds up to the $1 million, right?
Exactly.
Maybe poor people are very proud. What's $15? And then they ignore the $15. The experiment is so true and then so striking. We are running. Sometimes I really don't know why this master class, it looks like time is just going. We've spent 50 minutes as opposed to the 45 minutes already. That's it. And then I still have one or two questions I want us to touch on. So maybe briefly, I'll just ask one question before you give us a final closing word. So one of the in the journey of entrepreneurship, people fall, people fail, right? Uh, how do you get back up? Like when things are really, really very tough, how do you get back up, especially in Nigeria? You know, I think Dr. Charles is also on this call. I saw his initial comment. He said there are no really very strong system in Africa to support business growing. So the tendency for you to fail, is there. But just in case you fail, how do you get back up? From your experiences, what are the things you need to let us know for an entrepreneur to imbibe, just in case he's down? How does he get up? Thank
Yeah, it's not the number of times a man falls that is important, because man is meant to fall many times. But how many times we can rise after falling is very significant. First, record keeping is number one. If we must be able to stand back again, we have to be able to look back and find out where we missed the point. There are always those small, small, tiny tails that you can track, provided you have a good record, well kept. A lot of people don't even have notebooks or files for their practices or for their businesses. There must be a daily report. You must find a way, either by yourself doing it. If you hire somebody to do it, that is money well spent. There must be an account of activities carried out, not only financial accounts. Many people worry alone about financial accounts. What about the activities? So we must be able to have activity reports daily. I try to keep mine daily. I call it notes for file. I have a small book that contains notes for file on a daily basis. It could just be a 5, 10 sentences as events take place. Who came visiting, what he came to do, just a brief report. That is more significant than what we are chasing after. Because those are the things that we can always look back to peruse and find out where we missed out. Because there is always a point of departure from what is the trajectory of success. But if we can't look back to be able to investigate them, we will fall again and again. So those who are the successful ones in businesses have their methods of keeping their records that is standard. Some are even in electronic form these days, where you just carry them like your handset, and you see them, you just look through, you know where you have made some mistakes. And then you wait to see whether those mistakes will land you into trouble or whether you will be able to survive them. Then you have to also be bold. Every businessman have to be bold to confront failures. You are a veterinarian, a dog is presented to your clinic, and the dog dies. Your life should not end by that. Many of us, in the past, not me, were afraid or are still afraid to even announce to their clients that they have lost a patient. So that boldness has to be there, provided your conscience is intact. Negligence has not been recorded against you. If we are bold and we are confident that we are not negligent, then when we fall, to rise becomes easy again. I can go on and on and on with instances, if you permit me. But if you can take along those two heavy points, you discover that record keeping is key to what makes us as businessmen or successful businessmen. Our records, they should speak for us, even when we are gone. Those who take over from us should be able to look at records of the past, reports of the past, and know what they need to improve on in order to increase and make more profound the investments we have. That's it, Femi.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Charles says knockdown is not knockout. So I think that also brings to light what you said. But more importantly, you said record keeping. You know, maybe in Africa, I don't know whether it's a disease we need to cure. You ask somebody, so what happened? He said he doesn't know how the money, you know, you meet a market woman. They said they just see money coming in, but they don't know how it goes out.
Witchcraft.
And they act so helpless. But you were paid 50,000 naira, right? How did the 50,000 naira disappear? They said they don't know. And
Witchcraft.
the way they exactly the way they said they don't know, they are implicating some enemies from their village, or maybe they greeted somebody. They said, "Yeah, the way she shook me yesterday, I knew there was something wrong." We need to stop this. We need to stop this in
Like,
Africa. If you fail,
yeah.
you need to be able to explain what happened. Where did the money go? Because what you don't understand, you can't correct. And that's why the
Mm,
point you've made, very critical, record keeping. Let's even know where you got it wrong, so that we can, even if we're going to inject more money, understand what loopholes to block and what to do the next time. And then you said also you must have the boldness. I think that's very profound. Have the boldness. Our time is gone. It's fast spent. You have a final word, sir. We have people listening. They look up to you. They see you as a model. I see on your wall you've won several awards, right? And my wall is just, you know, there are no awards on my wall, just a picture of a dog, right? So it shows our level of achievement. So they want to hear a final word from you. Entrepreneurship with or without money. If you have just one sentence to make to encourage a young vet out there listening to you, looking up to you, wanting to know how you got to where you're going and how to amend his or her ways to ensure that he meets you at that future where he will be proud that your work today made a meaning to his life, what would that be, sir? Over to you.
well, let me encourage you very well that you are on the right course. You are doing what is good, and your walls will be populated even much more than what you are seeing on my wall today, tomorrow. I can see that coming. If that is a prayer, you take it as amen. One word I would not forget to say, even though I know we have some people who will be watching this from abroad and who will still watch this from far much, I mean, for more times to come. We have a very bad attitude to working for people in our part of the world. We have professionals who don't have respect for the titles they bear by attempting to run down their seniors, by not faithfully having the tutelage or learning from the footsteps of others. Let me say what the famous Einstein said, that if he is seeing much more than his peers are seeing today, as at that time, it was because he was riding and standing on the shoulders of giants. That is a very instructive word there. We need to get through tutelage of the seniors we have to be able to succeed. When we cheat our seniors, if they know, too bad. If they don't know, there is a spiritual angle to it. Because you will get cheated on. And that misfortune continues on and on. So people don't work well here for others. I've never worked for anyone. Like I said, I've never written an application to any company or anybody. And I did not have the opportunity of a tutelage under any senior, because we were all part of the early days for this profession in Nigeria. But those who have worked for others and they have cheated, they have the conscious worry. They have to depart from it and find a way of seeking forgiveness from God and repenting in such attitude. And then the professions can become more profitable and more blessed. I think that's just a simple advice I have to close this out.
What a class. What a class. I think the point I need to make before you leave is to have somebody said he was thanking you for your experience and then for sharing your business acumen. But the favor you need to help us do in the veterinary community or in the animal health community is to see how we can weave in some of this knowledge into the veterinary curriculum. I think we need to start having veterinary entrepreneurship or animal health entrepreneurship. People, it's been an hour of talk with the brain behind Vet, and the interesting thing about this masterclass is that it's poured a lot of things in us to be able to guide our opportunities right, manage our business properly, and ensure that we don't close down. If you've not hit on the thumb up button, please do that now. If you've not subscribed to the YouTube channel, just look under this live stream, click on the subscribe button. The video will be immediately available shortly after this live program is off so that you can share it to your colleague. Dr. Gani want to most warmly thank you for coming on this masterclass. 1 hour of uninterrupted, constantly sharing your wisdom and your years. You said 35 years all condensed in 1 hour. We can't thank you enough, sir. We will keep on knocking at your door because we know there are so many things you have to share with the community. We will be willing, we will be able to also absorb all this knowledge and make you proud in the nearest future. So, on behalf of the community and I, we want to say thank you for sharing your experience in this masterclass, and we see you in subsequent ones. To you all, thank you. Share the video, like the video, let colleagues know that there are valuable information in what you've just heard, and then keep the community growing. Thank you, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Gani Enahoro.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.